Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Haribol. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. In Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Parujaka Acharya, Ashtotar the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Parujaka Acharya, Ashtotar the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Abby, I want to thank you again for this wonderful bookmark. Somehow it didn't dawn on me last night that you had given it to me. I'll never forget again. Oh, it's obvious, 39. Yeah. So on the 11th day of December 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 3 entitled Karma Yoga, text 39 in the middle of page 175. Haribol. Grab a seat, grab a Gita. Avritam Jnanam Etena Jnanino Nityavairina Kamarupena Kaunteya Dushpurenanalena Avatam Jnanam Etena Jnanino Nityavairina Kamarupena Kaunteya Dushpurenanalena cha Avritam Jnanam Etena Jnanino Nityavairina Kamarupena Kaunteya Dushpurenanalena cha Avritam Jnanam Etena Jnanino Nityavairina Kamarupena Kaunteya Dushpurenanalena cha. Chad, you're right. Avritam Jnanam Etena Jnanino Nityavairina Kamarupena Kaunteya Dushpurenanalena cha. Krishna Jivani, you want to try? Avritam Jnanam Etena Jnanino Nityavairina Kamarupena Kaunteya Dushpurenanalena cha. Avritam Jnanam Etena Jnanino Nityavairina Kamarupena Kaunteya Dushpurenanalena cha. Not yet. I'm sorry, Mark. Did you want to chant? Go ahead. Avritam Jnanam Etena Jnanino Nityavairina Kamarupena Kaunteya Dushpurenanalena cha. Anyone online? Okay. You're the only one. Whoever gets online. I did forget Om Namo. Oh my God. Oh well, no better late than never. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Word by words. Avritam covered, Jnanam, pure consciousness, Etena, by this, Jnaninaha, of the knower, Nityavairina, by the eternal enemy, Kama Rupena, in the form of lust. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Dushpurena, never to be satisfied, Analena, by the fire, Cha, also. Translation. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Purport. It is said in the Manusmriti that lust cannot be satisfied by any amount of sense enjoyment, just as fire is never extinguished by a constant supply of fuel. In the material world, the center of all activities is sex, and thus this material world is called Maitunya Agara, or the shackles of sex life. In the ordinary prison house, criminals are kept within bars. Similarly, the criminals who are disobedient to the laws of the Lord are shackled by sex life. Advancement of material civilization on the basis of sense gratification means increasing the duration of the material existence of a living entity. Therefore, this lust is the symbol of ignorance by which the living entity is kept within the material world. While one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyer. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, as always, it's important to see this verse in context. So, the large part of this chapter, Karma Yoga, is all about how to act in the way most auspicious for one's life and one's future. And it basically centers on the concept of yajna, or sacrifice. There's an important verse in text 9 where we learn yajñartat kamano yatra lokoyam karma bandhana, that all one's activities should be done in the mood of sacrifice for the Lord. Prabhupada points out that the very word yajna, which means sacrifice, also means Vishnu. And otherwise, whatever else you do that's not with that consciousness will bind you to this material world. Yajñartat kamano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. This is the first line of that is very telling. So what does that mean? So Krishna makes it very clear that that he himself should be the beneficiary of the activities, and that he encourages Arjuna to work with that sense of selflessness for the pleasure of the Lord, and this will be the perfection of his work, and ultimately result in liberation from the bondage of works, which means going back to Godhead. So Arjuna asks the very logical question, well, why don't we do that? What is it that impels us to act? In text 36, O descendant of Vishnu, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? So in other words, it's the contrast or the conflict between the head and the heart, or the gut, you know. In other words, I really want to do it, though I know it's not good for me. And then when the lust wins out, then the intelligence goes into the background, becomes weaker, and you find yourself constantly yielding to the impulses of the kama. That's what's going on here. So Krishna answered that. What is it that one impels? It's lust only. Now lust. Kama means not just sex desire, Prabhupada focuses on that in the purport we read, but any very powerful desire that you have to enjoy, you know. That includes all the kama. And when it's frustrated, what happens? You get angry. So that's krodha. You remember back in second chapter, very important verses, a pair of verses describing the degradation of every conditioned soul. Dhyayado vishayan pungsa, sangasteshu vijayate, sangat sanjayate kama, kama krodha vijayate. This is the first verse in the pair. So he says, Dhyayado vishayan, just by contemplating the objects of the senses when they're pleasing, because everyone has his own set of most attractive things, then attachment develops. And then if you continue meditating and thinking about, then that attachment grows into lust. Sangat sanjayate kama. Now, lust, is, as we learned in the previous verse, is, the very verse we read, it's never satisfied but burns like fire. In other words, you try to satisfy it, and if you do satisfy it, then it just flares up even more. And before long, you have a serious habit on your hand, and if it's really serious, you call it an addiction. So that's what this is describing. But inevitably, because the material world, the nature of it, sometimes you can't get the object of the senses, or it's taken away from you, or for one reason, and then you become disappointed or angry at whatever that. And if you can't express your anger, then you become depressed. You turn it inward. And you have a psychological situation. Yeah. But the kama krodha, and then krodha bhavati sammoha. If you give vent to that anger, You can act in such a way that's completely out of character. Some moha, completely bewildered. You throttle someone or you kill someone who, you blame for it, and then the rest of your life you regret it. So sammohat smriti vibhrama, you lose your memory, who you really are, what your position is. You act in such a way simply impelled by anger. This is the mode of ignorance. It can be very powerful. So, sammohat smriti vibhrama, you lose your memory. Smriti bhangshat buddhi nasho buddhi nata panashati. And that means the destruction of your intelligence, and you fall into you're buried in the material pool. So do you remember the next verse tells you the antidote to this? How can you prevent it? Raga dvesha vimuktaisthu vishayan indriyaischadhan atmavasya vidayatma prasadam adhigacchati. We want to get the prasadam, not just the nice food prepared with love and devotion and offered such, but the grace of the Lord. So he's saying, if you raga vishayan atmavasya vidayatma. The key word is vidayatma. Vidhi means the rules and regulations. And Atma means the soul is following those that have been outlined in the Bhagavad Gita and all the other books and from the Parampara. Do this, don't do this. Yes, it's a little difficult at the beginning, but the process of Krishna consciousness will give you the spiritual strength to do it. And before long, you'll be habituated not to yield to the desires for the spiritual things, but to take pleasure in the service of the Lord. So raga, and then you come to the state, raga dvesha vimuktaisthu. You'll be free, even when moving amongst the senses. You'll see the same things. You'll hear the same things that used to impel you to try to enjoy, but you'll be free of raga and dvesha. Raga is attraction and dvesha is abhorrence. Those are two sides of the same coin. You'll be equipoised. Vishayan, the object of the senses, indriyaischadhan. The senses are moving, but you're not feeling things. Atma varshaya, you feel self-control by vidayatma. Following the regulative principles of freedom. This wonderful phrase in Prabhupada's translation. It sounds like an oxymoron in a way, because regular means don't do this, don't do this. To regulate, where's the freedom? But it gives your soul the freedom. You're breaking free from the knots in the heart, the famous ropes that bind the heart to this material world. You're cutting them, so that you're free of the bondage. I'll give you one of my poems is about that. And about how the great devotee says, kama adinam katin, in how many ways, in so many different births, I've been yielding to the demands of kama, krodha, lobha, all of these things that begin with kama and they go on. Lust, anger, greed, etc. But now I'm rejecting them. How? Not just on my own strength, but because my intelligence has been purified and strengthened by hearing from Bhagavad Gita as it is. By hearing the words from the empowered souls. That's how we can get the spiritual strength. So this section is very important, this last section of the third chapter, because it deals with us just where we're at. Now here, avritam is a very important word, comes up again, it means covered. The original knowledge of the living entity becomes covered by this lust. We forget all about our actual nature as servants of God, and we are assuming that everybody, like we are, we're servants of the senses. Servants of this conception, that conception. Jnanina is the knower. We're the knower. We're the wise knower, but all the knowledge becomes covered. Nitya-vaidina, the eternal enemy of the soul, this material desire. Because, as Prabhupada will say, in I think the next purport or so, this kama is nothing but prema that has been covered and transformed by contact of the soul with the material energy, the modes of nature. So that kama, that desire, can be purified, and ultimately it transforms back into prema. That's the whole idea. That's why it's said that each of us has prema, pure love for God, in our heart already. It just has to be awakened. I just heard Prabhupada in a lecture, he quoted the verse from Lord Chaitanya said this. Nitya Krishna's Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi Shavanadi Shuddha Chitte Kadayeyudoi. Very wonderful verse. The eternal perfection of love for God, love for Krishna. Now this is Krishna himself speaking in the form of Lord Chaitanya. It's very wonderful. He's speaking to Sanatana Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi. Sadhya in this case means something that has to be brought from outside, that's artificial. That's not intrinsic to the soul. It's not Nitya Siddha Sadhya Kabunoi, not. Shavanadi Shuddha Chitte Kadayeyudoi. By hearing and chanting, etc. In other words, the 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting, which are the foundation of them all. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte, the consciousness becomes pure. In other words, it's covered now by the dirt of who knows how many millions of lives serving our senses and dying and then being reborn many times, not as human beings. There's all of this dirt on the consciousness. But that's cleansed away by the process of bhakti, especially the chanting of the holy name. Cheto Darbana Marjanam, that's what it means, cleansing the mirror of the heart. So, Shavanadi Shuddha Chitte Kodeya Hridoya, it naturally awakens just by that purification process. So that's so here, this is the situation of all the conditioned souls. The real eternal knowledge, what's there, has been buried and forgotten, but it's still there. Avitam Gyanino, by his eternal enemy, Nityavayana, in the form of lust, Kama Rupena, Dushparena Nalena. It's never satisfied and burns like fire. It's like a fire that's blazing, and you throw a lot of gasoline on it. For a second, it'll be doused because it's like but then it'll flare up even more. So if you can't burn out the senses, by sense gratification. So now I'm burned out. Now let me go practice Hare Krishna. Doesn't work like that. There'll be this subtle desire to enjoy it again. You'll die and be reborn, and you'll be still conditioned. So he's telling it like it is now, and then he'll further explain. Any question on this one? We're going to stop early because I'm going to give a little more time for poems. I even brought my little speaker. So hope it's all right, audience. All right. Indriyani manobuddhir. Manobuddhir. Asyadhishtanamuchyate. Etavamohayatyesha. Jnanamavritta dehinam. It says dehinam. Okay. Dehinam. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence, all three, are the sitting place of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. Purport. The enemy has captured different strategic positions in the body of the conditioned soul, and therefore Lord Krishna is giving hints of those places so that one who wants to conquer the enemy may know where he can be found. Mind is the center of all the activities of the senses, and thus when we hear about sense objects, the mind generally becomes a reservoir of all ideas of sense gratification. And as a result, the mind and the senses become the repositories of lust. Next, the intelligence department becomes the capital of such lustful propensities. Intelligence is the immediate next-door neighbor of the spirit soul. Lusty intelligence influences the spirit soul to acquire the false ego and identify itself with matter, and thus with the mind and senses. The spirit soul becomes addicted to enjoying the material senses and mistakes this as true happiness. This false identification of the spirit soul is very nicely explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now this is a verse spoken by Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to the sages who have come to visit and see Krishna and Vasudeva and be present like this. No battle. This is before the battle. This is when they went, the gopis were there, and like that. There was an eclipse. Yasyatma buddhi kunapetvi dhatuke swadi kalatrashatu bhoma ijjati yattirtha buddhi salilena karhachid janesha bhiggeshu saheva gokara. A human being who identifies this body made of three elements with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsmen, who considers the land of birth worshipable, and who goes to the place of pilgrimage simply to take a bath rather than meet men of transcendental knowledge there, is to be considered like an ass or a cow. Not very exalted position. So that's so he's analyzing here. Okay, it's the senses, mind, and intelligence. Now, how does the intelligence, lusty intelligence? Well, you can experience things just on the level of intelligence, like you read books, So there's a whole, used to be, I don't know now with the internet and all of the video, but I remember as a kid, I hope this isn't scandalous, I used to read, like at 13 years old, Playboy magazine. They wouldn't sell it to us because we're just kids, So we just look in the window, or we, see one lying around somewhere and pick it up, you know. So that's the intelligence, basically. Right? And read about it, look at it, you know, oh boy. So, but the thing is, the intelligence is what directs the activities of the mind and the senses. So the intelligence is actually the starting place for Krishna consciousness, really, is learning the science and then directing the mind and the senses to act in a different way for purification. So, the senses, if you have the senses above them, is the mind, above them is the intelligence, and all of them are repositories for lust. Now, like the senses, addiction usually is defined, I think, in a medical sense, is that your body, is demanding something, whether it's tobacco or alcohol or some drug, and the senses and mind are helpless. It's more powerful. And so what do you need? An intervention. You need somebody who's a friend to say, you're coming with me to this center, and you won't be able to leave for 2 weeks, and there'll be other there, and and away from the temptation of this drug or alcohol. So you need help. Like up the street, we probably don't know that, but there's a big AA meetings go on in coordinates with those churches up there. There was once a fellow who came down. He was interested in Krishna consciousness, and he brought me up there, and he wanted me to address them, So usually, whoever speaks, he says, "My name is Tom, and I'm an alcoholic, but I have this badge. I've been clean for 6 weeks." Right? They have the little, isn't it? I didn't know that. So, I'm an alcoholic. The last time I had a drink was when I was 18. That's about 58 years ago. Big deal. But I mean, luckily I was never, an alcoholic. I would go out with my friends. I had the blessing from Krishna. I would drink a couple of drinks, I'd get sick and throw up. That's a big blessing, So, I navigated with the drugs. I lived on the Lower East Side, but Krishna protected me. I can't say I never, smoked marijuana. I did, but it never graduated to anything heavier, like that. Very fortunate. So, because, it's interesting. You read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you read the Nectar Devotion, you see that Krishna consciousness is sometimes spoken in those terms, and you see the effects. Lord Chaitanya and his cohorts, when they was dancing in Shiva Sangam, they couldn't stop. They went on all night. They were impelled. It was so pleasing. It was so ecstatic that they had no other desire. They had no desire to stop until the sun rose, and then there were certain duties to perform. Okay, we have to end the kirtan, And that kind of, because it's the same. Ultimately, it's the same feeling, the desire, the strong, powerful force that's drawing you in. And on the material side, lust, anger, all these powerful forces, addiction, but they're just reflections of the tremendous attraction of the soul for Krishna that we've forgotten, that we've covered, the arbitum, But so Krishna consciousness is an uncovering what's already there. It's completely natural. As Prabhupada, immortally said on that record, Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It is the natural state of the living entity. It's a wonderful address. So anyway, we're going to leave it at that because I want to leave a little extra time. But so we'll pick up at 41 tomorrow. But this goes on, and then he gives a solution, of course. 43. Tasmat tvam niyanyado. You have to control the senses at first. I mean, even if you just pick up the beads and you start chanting, your 2 rounds that you started, then you're not doing anything else. In other words, you're taking that time and you're approaching Krishna, and he gives you back. It's a spiritual strength. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to indulge in that anymore. That's self-destructive. I can feel that. So that's the power of the process that Lord Chaitanya gave. Everybody's eligible, no hard, anytime, any place, anywhere, anyone can chant Hare Krishna and be benefited. Unlike some of these other processes where you have to, if you're not a sannyasi, don't even bother. The impersonalists, Come on, there's millions of people that, need help. So that's the wonder of the Krishna consciousness movement and the Krishna consciousness process, is that if you take it seriously and you take a few steps toward Krishna, he takes 10 steps toward you, and you realize the power of it and the beauty of it. All right, so we'll begin on text 41 tomorrow. And let me leave this. Oh boy. All right, perfect. And now, let me, I think I planned this out. Okay. So, all right. Now she's gonna say something here. The lady in the
Battery 100%. Connected to iPad 6 and Thomas's iPod Touch.
There's no way of turning her off. So she performed some service there. She's telling. Okay, so I made a little selection of poems. Yeah, let's see if I can. All right, so first comes. Okay. All right. All right, I'll begin with a little paean to Prabhupada. O Prabhupada, we hail the day when you appeared just like a ray of Krishna's vast effulgence bright to give this blind world back its sight. We thank you from the bottom of our heart and pray with deepest love that we may serve your lotus feet in every circumstance we meet. As years go by and books go out, we see what life is all about, to serve your mission and our Lord's by spreading wide your sacred words. As well you want us all to strive to let those words direct our lives. This safest path will lead us home, no more in Maya's realm to roam. Could be like a song for the marathon. Okay, I'll turn this down a little bit. All right, so this is just a selection of poems. This one I chant every day when we greet the deities, Radha and Krishna. Pashupal and Rupa Goswami's Utkalika Volari 68. This is the last work he wrote, this Utkalika Volari. So it's Pashupala Varinanandana Vadametang Maharate Yuvam Bhavatu Panayo Bhave Bhave Bhavatore Vapadambujeshu Me. O Radha Krishna, children of the best of cowherd men, this single boon I beg from you again and yet again. And all the countless births my endless sins will make me meet. Let all my love flow toward your luscious, lustrous lotus feet. Gaur Premanandi. This is a prayer also from Rupa Goswami, from his Govinda Viradavali. He prays to always have the lotus flower of Krishna's beautiful face growing in the lake of his heart. Smituduchi makadanda syandi vaktrara vindam tavapadapadahangsam vishtagandham mukunda vidachata pashupali neta sarangarangam mamadidiyatadage sangamangi karotu. From the lotus of your face, dear Lord, trickles forth the luscious nectar of the beauty of your smile. Your exalted devotees, great swans, seek the fragrance of that lotus which there their hearts beguile. Your beloved gopis' eyes, mad bees, taste the most exquisite pleasure in that lotus of your face. O my dear Mukunda Dev, I pray, may the lake of my poor heart be by that lotus ever graced. Haribol. Next. Okay, so this is a nice prayer to become just like the Chataka bird. Vidachahi Mahidandam, again Rupa Goswami. Stavamala. Vidachahi Mahidandam Dina bandho dayang vagatadihana bhavakta kachadanyamamasti Nipatadashatakoti nimalang bandhavambas tadapikilapiodak stuyate chatakena. The chataka subsists on rain it catches in midair, and so it's always praying to the cloud to send its fare. Yet though that cloud may send a thunderbolt instead of rain, that bird continues praying fervently despite the pain. Just like the Chataka, I fix my mind upon one goal, and that is you, O Lord, most kind to every fallen soul. So whether it is punishment you send, or mercy sweet, I'll always pray to you for service to your lotus feet. You know, that was, I once was at a japa retreat with Giriraj Swami, actually up here in Joshua Tree. And I recited this one, and then he wrote me later, he wanted me to send him this poem, he liked it. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is a verse about the holy name that Haridas Thakur chanted in a meeting with Raghunath Das. He wasn't a Goswami, he was just a young boy at that time, and his parents. They were discussing the holy name. And the question was, how could just once chanting, you know, relieve from so many, give you liberation, you know? So he chants this very wonderful verse. Anghak sanghata takilang sakatu deyade vasakilalokasya antadane devatamela jaladim jayajitagan mangalang hare nama. And then Haridas explained this verse, and I took the verse and the explanation, made the poem. When the moon is, this is Bhadrinarayan Swami's favorite one that I wrote. When the moon is invisible. Now you have to go back 500 years, no electricity, you know. So what happens when the moon is new? There's no moon, and the sun is completely very, very dark. When the moon is invisible, withered to nil, and the sun is long gone from the sky, then an ocean of darkness envelops this world, and the timorous fear they might die. But that thick pall of gloom is at once swept away when the first signs of sunrise appear, and the dawning of day gives assurance to all that in truth there is nothing to fear. In a similar way, when illusion holds sway, and the soul has forgotten his Lord, then the darkness of ignorance covers his heart. Sin and suffering are his reward. But as soon as he says Krishna's name, even once, in a manner that doesn't offend, then his ignorance flees like the darkness at dawn, and his sin and his suffering end. So there's nothing to fear. For there's nothing to fear, for the sun of the name has appeared with his powers divine. In your heart may that sun, benedictive for all, become fixed and eternally shine. You heard that one before? I'm sorry? Yeah. This one too, yeah. Next is the poem right near the end of the Krishna Karnamrita. It's a beautiful verse. Jaya 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 Deva 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 and Tubhavana Mangala Divna Nama Deha and Jaya 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 Deva Krishna Deva Shravana Mano Nayanama Tavatara. Oh glory, 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 Lord, oh glory unto thee, who with thy holy name bless all three worlds and set them free. Oh glory, glory, glory unto thee, O Krishna Dev, whose nectar floods our ears and eyes and hearts in endless waves. That's one of my favorites of all time. Okay. Okay, I did that one. Sorry. Didn't. Okay, here. Well, this is a classic. You can all join in the Sanskrit. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kaidavachandrika patadanam vidyavadhu jivanam anandam vadivardhanam patipadam purnamita swadanam sarvatmas napadam padam vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glory to the chanting of Shri Krishna's holy names, which easily extinguishes samsara's blazing flames by polishing the lust-encrusted mirror of the heart. That chanting is the waxing moon that knows the secret art of causing the white lotus of good fortune to unfurl its petals far and wide throughout this bleak and blighted world. of transcendental knowledge which will take us to life's goal. The chanting of the name of Krishna is the life and soul. The ocean of ecstatic bliss floods far beyond its bounds, wherever Krishna's merciful and mystic name resounds. Indeed, whenever Krishna's names are sung in congregation, at every step one tastes a joy that knows no limitation. So hear with great attention as I earnestly request, please chant Shri Krishna's holy names and be supremely blessed. The soothing nectar of the name will bathe your consciousness, bestow pure love for Krishna, and eradicate distress. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. You want me to do the rest? Okay. Okay, I think we have time. Nam Nam Kari Bahodani Sarva Shakti Statrapita Niyamitak Smarane Nakalaha Etadrishita Bakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivami Dushamihadin Anuraga. Krishna, Govinda and Keshava too, here names have the wind, and in each of them you have invested your potency, leaving none out. Whenever we want, we can chant them without the slightest restriction of time or of place. O Lord, who can fathom your infinite grace? But I am so wretched, devoid of all shame, that I haven't developed a taste for your name. So how to develop the taste? Trinada Visuni Chena, Tadorapi Sahishnuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtani Aksadari. More humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. To think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. Such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant his name incessantly until the final hour. Nadanang nadanang nasundaring kapitang bhajagadish kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavata bhaktida hoitaki twahi. Wealth and women followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve you purely now and in each future birth. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavambado and kripayata vapada pankajas tataduli sadrishang vichindaya. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda Son, please am I plea, by your sweet grace consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. And Nayanangadadashadareya, and Badanangadhadudhayagira, and Pulakaya Nichatang Vapukada, Tabanama, Grahane Bhavishiti. Tears streaming from my eyes, my voice choked with bliss, the hair upon my body standing up in happiness. When will all these signs of rapture decorate my limbs, as I chant your holy name, the monarch of all hymns? Yugaitam nameshena chakshusha prabhashahitam shunyahitam jagatsavam govinda bidahe name. Every moment drags on like 1,000,000 years or more. From the rain clouds of my eyes the tears in torrents pour. This whole creation is nothing but a vast and joyless void. O Govinda, by her absence I am being destroyed. Ashlishiva paradatam pinashtamam adarshanan marmahatang karotu va yatatatava vidadhatu lampato mat prananatas sehevana. Let Madhava embrace this maid who's fallen at his feet, or let him trample me or my most ardent hopes defeat, by never giving me a chance to see him anywhere, thus shattering my heart and plunging me into despair. You see, he is a restless libertine and not a saint, so let him act in any way he likes without restraint. Yet though his cruel and crooked ways may cause me constant woe, Krishna is the only Lord my heart shall ever know. Then I didn't add a ninth verse. There's a verse by Krishna's Kaviraj giving the Palashruti. These 8 essential verses Lord Chaitanya wrote to teach the practice and the goal of chanting Krishna's holy name. Day by day, whoever sings this hymn will surely reach a little closer to perfection. Spotless Krishna praying. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Well, we have time for one more, huh? Okay, sure. Please. I don't know if you've ever seen on YouTube, there was a recording of me doing this in Mayapur in 2005. Yeah, in the YouTube search, you just say Dravida, Mayapur. Dravida space Mayapur. You see. Anyway, I'm not going to say that. All right. Well, we have a few minutes here. What else we got here? I did that one, Well, how could I not do this? Radheti nama navasundara sida mugdam Krishneti nama madhurabhata gara dugdam Savakshanam sadabhiraga himena ramyam Kritvata daiva pepame Rasane chadarte. An excellent fresh nectar drink with endless subtle tastes, such as the name of Radha, by whom all three worlds are graced. Condensed milk that is wonderfully delicious, thick and sweet, such as the name of Krishna, in whom all attractions meet. Now mix these drinks, O thirsty tongue, and add the cooling, fragrant spice of love, a prize the wise will try to buy at any price. And then in every moment drink this beverage most fine, and make my heart supremely blissful, peaceful and divine. Believe it or not, I think it was at Rath Yatra, someone gave me a t-shirt with that verse in Sanskrit on it. But it doesn't have my poetic translation. No, we need to make, we can make him here with the poetic.
Is that fine? The Sanskrit?
Yes, Raghunath Das Goswami, yeah. Oh boy. Well, okay. I have to, just give me a second here. Hold on a second. Yeah. That's what I'm doing. Hope I have time to finish it. Okay. Indranil Manimandravana Pullani Pukasamanchitakarna Krishna Labara Kishora Sihari Sundaro Jayat Kund Bihari. His smooth complexion conquers sapphire, stunning to the eye. Kadamba blooms with fragrance full on each ear gently lie. His beauty's great, and by his chest where Gunja necklace stays. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan forest plays. Radhika Vadana Chanda Chakora Sabala Babadudati Chora Chachari Chatutatanchita Chari Charuto Jayati Kunja Bihari. Chakora longing for the moon of Radha's radiant face. A thief purloining patience from the cowherd's wives apace. His expert rhythmic dancing winning all the gopis' praise. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Sarvatak Patila Kaula Kapava Dwangsanena Ritabasa Magarva Koshta Rakshanakati Giridhari Lilaya Jayati Kunja Bihari. When Indra's sacrifice he stopped, he stole the Deva's pride by playfully uplifting Giri Govardhan to hide his friends and cows beneath the hill for 7 nights and days. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Ragamandala Vibhushita Vangshi Vimrameda Madano Savashangshi Stuyamana Chaditakshukha Shari Shrinabi Jayati Kunja Bihari Jayati Kunja Bihari Jayati Kunja 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 Bihari. Heartwarming warbling melodies adorn his flute which sings of Cupid's fest. To him unending happiness it brings. The parrot pair his loving pastimes never tire to praise. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan forest plays. Shat Kumbha Duti Hadu Dukula Kek Chanda Gaviradita Chula Navmeyova Nalasan Vajanari Ranjano Jayat Kunja Bihari. His glistening silken garments steal the glow by gold possessed. His crown of perfect peacock plume defeats all other crests. Vrindavan radiant girls rejoice to see his loving ways. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Stastaki kotos gandhi patira swanakanchi padishobikatira radiko natabayo daravari kunjaro jayati kunja bihari. Most fragrant sandal paste anoints his limbs so slightly blue. A splendid golden belt adorns his waist, 'tis like unto an elephant bound by the ropes of Radha's bosom raised. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan forest plays. En golden data till kodalambala keli chantalita chambakamala adnikanda the grihesha bisari subhavam jayat kunja bihari jayat kunja bihari. His forehead glows with golden tilak skillfully applied. His playful pastime swing his champak garland side to side. He meets the gorgeous gopis for their rendezvous in caves. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Hey Vimramocha Dadgansana Nritya Chipta Gopalalanakalakritya Prema Mata Vishabhana Kumari Nagaro Jayat Kunja Bihari Jayat Kunja Bihari. Their work ignored, the cowherds' wives are nearly paralyzed by dancing glances that strike them from the corners of his eyes. Ecstatic heroes setting love-mad Radha's heart ablaze. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest plays. Hey Ashtakam Adutakunja Bihari Kridaya Patati Akilahari Sapriyati Bilasat Padabhagam Tatsipara Kamalarchana Ragam. The pastimes that the Lord enjoys in Braja's sylvan bowers enhance his octave's beauty and pour forth pure nectar showers. Whoever hears these verses soon acquires saintly traits and serves the luscious lotus feet with love that ne'er abates. And serves his luscious lotus feet with love that ne'er abates. Hare Krishna. Okay, we better get going because we're going to be in Arti. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.